thing. Why is trying to teach me? He's becoming over smart. These interpretations, this analysis covers the input which is coming, okay? And then the ego, the sense of doership rises because intellect has done something. The sense of doership arises. And this whole mixture is perceived by the soul, the operator. So, what the operator is seeing, or the soul is seeing, is not what is the real input outside, the external object. You hear a sound, it goes through your ears, reaches to the brain center, finally taken up by the mind, recognizing it. Then there is an interpretation by the mind, intellect, putting some label on it. It means covering the original thing with its interpretation that is based on the memory and experiences. And memory and experiences are limited, finite. So it is living whole life in one loop. Whatever experience you have gathered in your life, you are working on that only, on the basis of that only. Very few new experiences, original experiences are added. Otherwise, manipulation, permutation, combination of the old goes on. That's why suffering is there. That's why miseries are there. We hear in the management studies that there should be out of the box thinking. Yeah, this is a term which is used. But can there be really an out of the box thinking? That is only permutation, combination, little bit extending. But whatever you are doing, it is based on the memory and experience which you are gathering every moment. Whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you smell, taste, touch, this impression, this touch of the external object immediately gets changed into the nerve currents, goes to the corresponding brain center, taken up by the mind, given the interpretation by the intellect based on the memories, experiences. This is the wave, thought wave. Patanjali is saying that we have to stop all these thought waves. So these thought waves don't die. They subside, take the finer and finer form and get stored in us, in our subconscious mind as impressions. And these impressions are called samskaras in Sanskrit. These impressions determine our next birth. We have positive impressions, negative, neutral. Accordingly, the weightage, as per the weightage, our direction is set. And there are 5 categories of the vrittis. He says, you are constantly coming in touch of the external sense objects, and constant rising of the thought waves, vrittis are taking place. Now, if you want to analyze the machine, body-mind complex, because you have now assumed the position of the operator. Now you know that here is my body and this is my mind, and I know that this is my body and this is my mind. That's why I am the operator. Other than this, so now you have to learn the working of the machine. how it is working. If you don't learn the working of your computer machine, you will not be able to operate properly. If you don't learn the working of your car or bike or cycle, and you won't be able to drive better. You should know the rules also. Similarly, to help us understand the machine, Patanjali has categorized these innumerable thought waves arising in us in 5 categories. So, if you sit and see and watch, you can understand that this thought wave which has arisen in me falls in this category. That will enhance your awareness, increase your awareness. So he says there are 5 categories of the thought waves, chitta vrittis. First one he calls the proof. Proof is further divided into 3, that is direct perception, inference, and competent evidence. You are seeing me. This is proof that I exist. And this proof is because you are perceiving me directly. So this is the direct perception. So many thought waves rises on the direct perception. You hear something, you see something, you taste something, these are all direct perceptions. Based on that, there are thought waves. Another one is, that is also considered proof, is inference. You make inference. You see me and you have listened a few words from me, and now you are making an inference. Okay, what he is saying is, okay, but this is not what I have learned. So something confusing, something very difficult, making inference. So it's going to be finally a boring one. You have made the inference based on your previous experiences. I earlier also saw someone speaking like this, that finally ended very. So inference, that is also a proof, right? And third is competent evidence. There are people whose words are truth to you. A Christ, a Muhammad, or a Krishna, or Patanjali, or Newton, or Einstein, whatever they have uttered, I have total faith in their words. So that is also a proof. So these are 3 categories of proof. Another one is indiscrimination. Our many thoughts are based on indiscrimination. Indiscrimination is false knowledge. And classical example is, you are walking in the darkness. It's very classical, coming from the tradition. You are walking in the darkness and suddenly you see there is snake and you are about to put your foot on that. And immediately this message in fraction of second reaches to your hypothalamus as danger to the life. Now this body is programmed in such a way that if there is a danger, it will prepare you for fight or flight condition. So the gland hypothalamus will further send signals through hormone secretion to the pituitary gland, master gland, that there is a danger to the machine. So gets ready to fight or flight, which further sends signals to the adrenal gland, which releases such hormones that makes the body full of energy, and energy which is required, it is required through burning the glucose in the cells, in the mitochondria. So breathing shoots up in seconds and you jump and you are out of danger. Whole physiological change has taken place. Lot of stress in seconds has been caused to the body, but that was an emergency situation. It was a danger to the life. And but after jumping, when you look back, you see, oh, it was a false perception, false knowledge, indiscrimination. It was rope only. Then the parasympathetic nervous system starts calming down the whole body. But the damage has already taken place. Those hormones which were not needed to be released got released in the blood. And when this goes on continuously, when we have such vrittis, such thought waves very often in our life on daily basis, which make us realize that we are in danger, we are in problem in one way or other way, then the body adjusts according to the situation, releases such hormones, that results in psychosomatic disorders. Maybe peptic ulcer.
Just going back to this, you said how we receive the objects, right? So when we do meditations, we just tell that we imagine that you are an object, just merge with that object. So it's just to break this loop, like all the how we perceive.
See, normally what normal practice is that you never realize that you are separate entity, you are the operator. Now the operator makes the body and mind to do yoga, pranayama and meditation with the knowledge which he has gained or gaining. The very important thing in Patanjali Yoga Sutra is, or in the field of yoga, or in the life to live peacefully, is that you should know that you are the operator. Otherwise, machine goes on running. And when machine meditates for stress relaxation, it relaxes, but it gathers stress in some other way. Machines are limited. They have limited knowledge. They work either in the subconscious field or in the field of reason. I am coming to that point. Yesterday we discussed, so I am just giving a summary. So this is the second category of the Chitta Vritti. Third one is verbal delusion, which may come from your sixth sense, that is memory. Five senses, another one is your memory, which goes on giving you many thoughts from within. You simply sit and you get a thought. From where it is coming? It is coming from within you only. Whatever you have heard or seen or felt, that takes various forms and comes to you. You imagine something, you hear some thought within, or someone tells you. On the basis of that, you imagine something, you fantasize something. That is called verbal delusion. Someone told me that you are an idiot. Okay. Then I received it through the process. It came here, went here, mind picked up, intellect gave the reaction. How he can say this? He is an idiot who is saying this. Okay. Now this verbal message will create verbal delusion. You will go on thinking now. How he said this? How he dares? I will teach him a lesson. Imagining now, fantasizing, sitting alone. It happens. Let him meet me. When he will meet, I will say this. Then your mind will give you a reply that he is saying this. Okay, he said this. And I will say this. The inside fight is going on. Nobody is outside. And finally, it takes many turns and finally you succeed. Or sometimes you become so angry that you kill him in the imagination. Each one of us, if we are honest to ourselves, we may recall that mentally we have fought great wars. Sometimes we have killed also people, massacred. Am I right? What is this? These are the impressions being created. These are the vrittis based on the verbal delusion, fantasies, imaginations. And finally, they have come up. Then what is the next thing? They are subsiding, getting down finer as samskaras, ready to pop up at any time when the conditions are ripe. So the one who kills in the mind, if he gets the proper conditions, can kill outside also. Those who are doing such things, they are those who in this life or other life have imagined like this. Now they have got the suitable conditions. So those impressions, sanskaras, suppressed or stored, are now manifesting themselves. That is how this machine works. It is like programming. As programming is done to the computers, this machine is doing self-programming. Because operator is not controlling it, not operating it. That's why machine, which is self-programmed also, is capable of further self-programming. And sufferer is the soul, the Atman. Because this machine has been given to the soul to manifest its divinity by controlling the nature externally and internally. As Swami Vivekananda says, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity by controlling nature internally and externally. Do it either by work or worship or by psychic control and be free. So this is the task. For this reason only, the Almighty, the Divine Wisdom, the God, the Allah, the Ishvara, whoever He is, has created this creation and given us the human bodies as a machine, so we, the operator, can learn to command it properly, perfectly. So this is the third category of the vrittis, verbal delusion. Fourth one is memory. Because you receive many inputs from the memory, so
Is it sleep?
yeah, you may take sleep here, then the memory. So, fourth one is sleep. Sleep is also a vritti in which the mind attaches itself to the voidness. Very interesting to understand how the mind is receiving input. Some sense object is needed. That sense object comes to the sense organ. Suppose there is a view, then the image will be made on your retina. From here it will be converted into the nerve current, reaches to the corresponding brain center of the site. Here mind picks the input, then the reaction takes place by the intellect, and then the sense of doership ego rises. Okay, what happens in the sleep? There is no input. Not coming. Then the mind is attaching to the voidness, thoughtlessness. There is no thought. This is called sleep. So this is also a vritti. And Patanjali says there are some painful and some are without pain. So this is without pain. It doesn't give you any pain. Rest three which we discussed may give you pain. May not also. Depends. And if in the sleep, somehow from the memory some inputs are released, then those inputs are received as dream. Dreams are nothing but your stored memory loosening out in the sleep, coming up and being caught by the mind. That is the dream.
But sometimes the dreams can be painful as well, right? Because something stored in your memory.
Yeah, pain may be painful. Dream may be
So in
painful.
this vritti, there is no
No, I talked about the sleep, which is attached to the thoughtlessness. But when it becomes the dream, it may be painful also. Sometimes we weep in the dream. Cry, fear is also felt, many things. And memory has also been categorized as chitta vritti. Fifth one is memory, smriti. Because many things come from the memory. Many thoughts, thought waves arise from the memory. So these are the 5 categories. And the goal of yoga is to subside all these thought waves. And who can do this? The operator only. If operator is there which knows what is to be done, this is the working of my machine, and these thought waves are giving the troubles. They are not allowing me to perceive thing as it is, because whatever we perceive is a mixture of our reaction. That's why our worlds are different. Same situation, same condition, but everyone is perceiving differently. Here also 9-10 persons are sitting, but everyone will be perceiving what I am saying differently. Why? Why is it so? I am speaking one thing which is reaching to all the corresponding external sense organs, reaching to your ears, being changed into the nerve currents, reaching to the brain center, mind is picking up, then intellect is giving a reaction, assimilation process by the intellect. And that is based on your memory and experience. So you are perceiving which may be quite different what the another one is perceiving. So Patanjali says this is not the right thing. We are not, it means we are not seeing the truth, we are not seeing the reality. What we are seeing is our own limited understanding is being reflected again and again. Getting my point? That's why there are sages like J. Krishnamurti. He used to see that, have you seen a rose in your life in reality? And people will say, what is the problem? In the morning also I saw it. No. What you have seen is the image of the rose, that too covered up by your reaction to it. In reality, you haven't seen that. Otherwise, if the things are seen as they are, all will be having the same perception. Perceptions are not same. Take the practical live example of this place itself. We are discussing, but perceptions will vary. Let me start asking, then we will see that, okay, what she understood is different, what she understood is different, what she understood is different. Why? It means these machines are not capable of seeing the things as it is. This is very important point to understand. We don't see the world as created by the Almighty. We see the world which we have created for ourselves. Each one of us carries our own world within. That's why sufferings are there, problems are there. Otherwise, this whole creation is Satchidananda Sarupa. Absolute existence, absolute consciousness, absolute bliss. But in the evolution, in the process of evolution, the consciousness has come to this point only, that it has been given this body, which has limited capacity of perceiving the things. When we will grow out this body, this machine, then there may be higher machine which may be given to us. Yoga Shastras describe many planes of consciousness where higher beings reside. And one of the Upanishad, you might have heard, they have even given very categorically the level of Ananda rising in every sphere. Have you heard this? No. Let me tell you what is written in the Upanishad. They say, they wanted to quantify the bliss. So they said, consider there is a person young, full of vitality, very healthy, perfectly healthy, very beautiful, handsome, and he has full knowledge of scriptures as well as he has full knowledge of science, both the things. Okay, and not only that, he is the king of earth, the whole earth. He is the ruler, he is the king of that. Say his Ananda, take it as that his Ananda is 1 unit. Okay, just imagine what Ananda this person will be having, that he is young, very healthy, handsome, powerful, all wealth of whole world is there. He is very well versed in all Vedas, Upanishads, the scriptures, as well as in the science. ultimate happiness he is having. There is no obstacle before him. His happiness, they say, suppose it is 1 unit. Then there are other planes of spheres. Then they describe the another loka is Pitraloka. Above this creation, every individual living there is having 10 to the power 10 Ananda, which this man is having. Then the next, again 10 to the power 10, like that it goes on. There are 9, 10, 11 spheres which Vedas, Upanishads have come to know through their spiritual experiences, through their divine sights. So this place, earth, this is considered as an arena where you can evolve and reach to higher planes of existence, where there is no pain, no misery, no suffering, only you are excelling in the Ananda, Ananda, Ananda. The Ananda which we perceive here as a glimpse, sometimes we do feel blissful. Here also, that is only a glimpse of the infinite Ananda. That can be increased like anything. And yoga is meant for that. The method is subsiding the thought waves. So your real Sarupa, the operator, is a divine spark. It is a part of, you are divine spark, not the body and mind. You are Satchidananda Sarup. You are full of bliss. But that bliss is still in the seed form. It has not manifested. It has not grown up as tree. That's why sufferings are there. You have given your charge to the body. Body is taking you wherever you wants to go. You are not controlling the body-mind complex. That's why the sufferings are there. And body-mind complex have created a point of integration called ego. Body is different, mind is different, infused in each other. This is the machine. So there is a point of integration called ego, which is a false entity. That is only a sense of center, nothing else. False sense of center, the doership. I am the doer. We all have this notion that I am the doer, and this notion makes us suffer, because all the time we find that though I am the doer, things are not moving accordingly. So suffering arises. When the sense of ego is replaced by the presence of the operator, when the operator becomes the center of integration of your body, mind, machine, and the things start changing and increase in the bliss take place. Slowly, slowly.
Where is the ego?
Sense of doership.
It's a sense of doership. Where is it? Where is it? It's in the mind?
It's a point of integration of body-mind complex. It's like pseudo-operator, you may say. Body, mind, this machine needs a point of integration or not. Body is different, mind is different.
So it's that point of
Integration, a false point of integration, because operator is not taking the charge. That's why ego is there. Try to understand. Ego is also doing something good. Because if operator is not awake and there is no point of integration also, then you become mad. There are mad people. They are such machines whose operator is sleeping, soul is sleeping in a seed form, and their sense of their point of integration, ego, has also collapsed through stress. Because ego cannot face any amount of the stress. So it starts falling in depression, and then slowly there may come a time when ego disappears and you become completely collapsed. What if the operator gets up, take the charge, and always aware, or at least once, twice, thrice in a day, takes the charge, reminds itself that okay, this is my body, this is my mind, then slowly it will replace the ego. Ego will also make the place for the operator. Working is such. Okay? So, we will be starting new sutras, but before that, we will do 1 minute meditation, and we will try to put operator in charge. The real you, the real me is the operator. Close your eyes. Now, just see that there is no thought, and if there is a thought, you know that also. You are the knower of the thought as well as you are the knower of the absence of thought. So you are not thought, you are neither absence of thought. You feel the body, that which you can feel, you cannot be. To know something, you have to be another one. So you feel your body, you see your thought or no thought state. So you are other than that, and that is really you, the eternal portion of the divine, which is deathless, fearless, the Atman, the operator. Know clearly that you have a very precious machine, body-mind complex. Know what makes it stressed up, what relaxes your body and mind. Analyze, see, and take care of it. More and more. full of bliss. Slowly open your eyes. So daily for a minute in the morning, in the night, just do it twice a day. Just know that you are different from body and mind. Make this a small beginning and you will slowly see the changes started, and there will come a time when transformation will start taking place. And how this can be done, Patanjali says, through practice of non-attachment. Yesterday we discussed it. This is what we did in the meditation when we saw that this is the body, this is the mind. Normally it is said that be thoughtless, achieve the thoughtlessness, but you are observer of that too. You are not thoughtlessness. Whether it is thoughtlessness, whether it is vrittis or without vrittis, your body, mind, you are the seer standing behind, you are the operator. As thoughts give you pain or some problem or happiness, same is thoughtlessness which gives you relaxation. So this is, you should know as operator, okay, this relaxes my body-mind complex. It is good for the machine because you want to run this machine for a longer time in a nice way, healthy way. So you recognizes that, okay, when thoughtlessness is there, it soothes the body and mind, and you may encourage that. When you realizes lots of thoughts coming, disconnected, so you may see they will disappear. And a very interesting thing, if you really watch in this way, you will find the thoughts who normally appear as a chain of thoughts are all disconnected. If you observe, you will see one thought, then another thought of another thing, another thing, another thing. They are disconnected. They are like sparks, tiny sparks carrying one thought, and this goes, another thing comes. Because of our unawareness, they all join together. Because we are not aware, so we are fooled by their speed, in fact. They come in such speed that they seem to be connected. See, if you are angry, what happens? Thoughts. Then you are angry because of me, then you may become angry with someone else also, then another one also, with the children, family, people. What is happening? All the thoughts, irrelevant, not connected, are looking as if they are connected. But if you are in awareness, you can clearly see that this is one thought appearing and disappearing. This is another thought appearing and disappearing. This is the nature of the vrittis. vrittis rises, then subsides, becoming the impression. But yoga aims, ultimate aim of yoga is that these vrittis shouldn't rise. You will see how it is done. So the method is to achieve that state is practice of non-attachment. Yesterday we tried to understand what is attachment. So opposite of that is non-attachment. Right? Dhyayate vishyan sangha. Dhyayate vishyan punsa sanghasteshu upajayate. When you go on remembering of some object, an attachment to that object starts. With the attachment, you start desiring for that object. If there is an obstacle in between, you become either angry or full of fear. And that makes you almost hypnotized. What happens in the state of fear or anger? You are almost hypnotized. We lose connection with we become delusioned, full of Brahma. Illusion is there, and then we got disconnected with the memory source. The memory doesn't feed us at that time that it is wrong, very wrong, don't do this. That is how the whole psychological process of attachment takes place. We discussed in detail yesterday, but this is in a nutshell. So opposite of that is non-attachment. Don't go on thinking of one object repeatedly. If you do this, attachment will come. If you don't do this, you will be detached. You will be more free. And the ultimate thing is, if you know this is your body and mind and it is a machine, your attachment to your own body will be ended, and if your attachment to your own body and mind finishes, then you cannot attach to any other object, any other person. So yoga is doing what? They are saying, first you establish yourself as operator. Know that this is your machine. Know that this is your computer. Then you take care of it. But don't think that you are the computer. When you know this is your body, you may take care of it. You may work for its betterment. You may do all the duties. But you will not be so attached that will lead to the miseries. But this needs practice of non-attachment, continuous. And when this practice of non-attachment is done properly, what is the result? Patanjali says result is samadhi, sampragyata samadhi. The whole process of yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, dhyan is a process of non-attachment. If you see it is in this light, the yoga will reveal its truths to you. This is the whole process of non-attachment.